If you clicked on this video looking for an honest review of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, then look no further, you have just found it. Now before we dive headfirst into this video, I do want to point out one thing you should know. This game is literally the most bizarre piece of work I have ever experienced so far. The game does things quite well in some areas and then does a complete 180. But let's dive into finding out what exactly I mean with this though. So starting off with the story, no spoilers of course, it is at its core okay. I did not find anything special about the story nor anything extremely awful. Unfortunately, I did find nearly half of the main cast to be extremely underwhelming. Like Tora for example. Please do not get me started on Tora and Poppy, literally the worst duo in any RPG I have ever played. Tora's rampant paired with Poppy's horribly dry quotes,
Poppy spinning slash,
makes me want to order some biscuits from Popeyes and just end it all. There's also another character introduced later on as comic relief, but the story tries to make this person seem more important than what they really were for some odd reason. I'm not saying these characters are awful, it's just that either due to incredibly annoying battle audio or poor delivery of said character's backstory left me feeling ambivalent. The story tries to make certain characters feel important and I appreciate that, but the way that it is executed though is quite awful. Moving on from the story and its characters leads me into gameplay. This game, like many RPGs, start off at a snail's pace. Its pace is equivalent to your grandmother's shopping in a grocery store. It takes hours for anything to happen. Not saying that I find that to be a negative. I actually enjoyed the combat quite a bit once you get some hours into the game. Things really flow well as you start to learn mechanics and it feels really good. New mechanics are added as you progress up until a point where you just become the poster child of broken. With the right setup, your characters will burst through mobs and even bosses alike with disgustingly high numbers of damage. Switching between your blades, which in other words are your weapons, seems flawless, and with some things you can really bring out the best of each blade depending on the situation. While this works in your favor, there is one big glaring issue about the gameplay that does not. Imagine making a single player RPG have its weapons based on gacha. Yes, gacha. If you do not know what gacha means, I can tell you. It's another word for random. Now games have done this before, mainly mobile games. Even games that come out now like Genshin Impact for example, have gacha in them. I'm not saying gacha is bad, as I am personally a big fan of it. What I am saying though is, for this game, gacha is bad. I'm sure the game tells you once and never mentions it again, but you will also come across key areas in the story where you need certain power to progress. This certain power is tied to specific blades of certain elements. Now the game does give you some blades as you go along, but majority of them come from pulls. If your luck is sorry enough, you could literally be forced to grind for pulls until you get a blade with ability that you need to progress. I found this mechanic absolutely horrific. I mean, I get what the devs were trying to do, but once again, it was just executed in the worst way possible. Never, ever link skills that are responsible for progression in a game behind gacha. Another issue that I had with this game was the map. I thought Xenoblade Chronicles 1 was bad with this, but Xenoblade Chronicles 2 took it to an entirely new level. The starting area carries some level 2 and level 3 monsters right outside of the town, which is fine. But as you explore and go to the places the game tells you to go to, you then encounter enemies that are level 40 and even level 70. Yes, that is right. You are level 3 and are staring a level 70 monster straight in the face. Can you guess what happens next? That's right. They kill you and you start back at town once again. I'm not sure how many deaths I got from the boss of the first area in the game as I was just trying to travel to a new destination. Your character's movement is too slow to outrun him and he would just come up from behind, one-shot you and then leave. Let's not forget about the poor sense of space the game gives as well. The tracker or compass in the middle of the screen does great with telling you to go to a certain direction, but it becomes literally useless when it comes to a destination being above or below you. I found myself running around for hours sometimes just trying to get to the next story location. Unfortunately, the tracker is so vague with its pointers that I am forced to either quit the game or look up where to go next out of frustration. Also, while we're at it, let's talk about cutscenes. The production for cutscenes in this game is absolutely fantastic, but just like its cast of characters, I found myself at times really into a scene, and then at other times I couldn't care less. Something about the way the narrative is carried out makes things feel disconnected at times. Like some things really hit home and has me hyped, while the scene directly after that one I wish I skipped instead of watching. I know this is a lot that I talked about here, but I had to get it off my chest. I'm not saying that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a trash game, because it is not. There are some things it does incredibly well, while there are other things it does incredibly poor. Like I've told my friends multiple times while playing this game, the developers have somehow perfected a masterpiece of greatness and disgust. Literally one moment you are into the game, feeling the music, feeling the gameplay, just overall bliss. Then the next moment, you feel like dropping the game cartridge in the toilet. If you're a big fan of the series, then I would say give this game a shot. If you also enjoy pain, feel free to pick this game up as well. I will say after my 64 hours in the game, I did feel like I got my money's worth. It wasn't overall a bad experience, but I wouldn't say it was personally a good one for me either. But hey, the game did something right if I committed myself to beating it, right? Also, PS. Never create a game where a boss has a mechanic that could one-shot you with little to no warning when this mechanic has never been introduced in a game up until that point. Also, PSS. While I am a man of culture, the developers need to chill with the waifus. Some of these blades make even Pyra herself look like a nun. My goodness.